The Rays keep on winning. The Brewers win a thriller in San Diego. And Brice Paterik is here to talk about this. Say it with me. First place, Texas Rangers. This is Locked On MLB.
You are Locked On MLB. Your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. There's my lower third. You can call me Sully. I'm an Emmy-nominated television producer who has been a baseball podcaster for over a decade now, and this is my fifth season here at the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is indeed your team every single day. Download the Gametime app. They're sponsoring today's shows. Create an account and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully with Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. So yeah, we are going to be having Brice Paterik is going to be on the show talking about the Rangers' solid start to the season and the fact that they're facing a tremendous hurdle over the weekend with the Houston Astros. Well, let's review a little bit of what happened in baseball yesterday. First of all, there was a real thriller between Milwaukee and San Diego that actually just ended a few minutes ago. Trent Grisham hit a 2-out, 2-run, eighth inning home run to tie the game 3-3. The game went to extra innings, and the unsung hero of that game was Willy Adames, the shortstop for the Milwaukee Brewers, who made a tremendous play getting the lead runner, the ghost runner, the Manfred man, got him, boom, out in that what could have been a game-tying rally in the 10th inning. And the Milwaukee Brewers held on. And with that victory, the Brewers remain in first place, a mere one game ahead of, say it with me, the Pittsburgh Pirates, because the Pirates shut out Jordan Montgomery and the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals are technically in last place, and the Pirates are technically one game out of first place. It's early. We all know it's early. But, hey, every time the Pirates can face their chief rival in this division and win a game like that, that's a positive thing. In fact, I mentioned Willy Adames's tremendous defensive play. Ji-hwan Bae, the very talented outfielder for the Pirates, he singled and scored, but made two tremendous plays, including an inning-ending running, diving, leaping catch to end a St. Louis rally. The Pirates wound up winning that game 5-0. In fact, Vince Velasquez and Ji-hwan Bae own baseball. Joe Ryan pitched for the Twins. The Twins have always been beaten up by the Yankees over the years, but tonight, Joe Ryan struck out 10, and the Yankees were down, I think, 9 runs before they even came to the plate. As my mom would say, the final score was a lot to not enough. Actually, it was 11-2. But of course, the big news is the Rays won again. This was Harold Ramirez was the big star of today's game. He got a key bases clearing double that opened up the game. But the fact of the matter is the Rays just keep on rampaging whomever they play, and even when they get bad news, like Springs, their ace pitcher so far this year, had to leave the game. Now, according to my friend Barb, who's a diehard Tampa Bay fan, she sent me a text that says that he had an ulnar nerve irritation. And I think we all know how painful those can be. I don't know what that means. I hope it doesn't mean a long injury, because he looks like a solid ace, and baseball needs aces. But either way, the modern record for best start of a regular season has been matched. The Milwaukee Brewers of 1987, the Tampa Bay Rays of 2023. And they go north of the border. We're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming games for the weekend, but they just keep going. They just keep getting the wins. And you know what? It's never the wrong time to win 13 games in a row. It is never the wrong time to do that. I feel badly for the Athletics because they played Baltimore well. In fact, it was Brent Rooker got a pair of home runs. He drove in 5 runs all by himself, but the A's wound up losing that game 8-7. The beginning of the year, I made this grand pronouncement. I said the A's are going to be better than you think they are. They're so going to be so overlooked that they're going to win a game, series here or there and be a surprising team. So far, that looks like a terrible prediction on my part, but who knows? Teams can get off to bad starts. And you saw this happen a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, the Detroit Tigers got off to a horrible start. And then everyone just sort of circled Tiger games on the schedule as, oh, that's an easy win. That's an easy win. But the second half of the season, they played people pretty well. And suddenly they became spoilers down the stretch. So there is hope for the A's. I don't know about that. But here's the deal. The Tampa Bay Rays, if they win tomorrow, that means they'll give themselves a 2-week period, a 2-week cushion to basically say, okay, yeah, we had 2 entire weeks where essentially, even with injuries and, Springs could join Glass now and everything like that, a 2-week buffer. Right now, they have a 5-game lead on the Yankees and Toronto and a 6-game lead over Baltimore. Of course, that lead could shrink. But the fact of the matter is taxes aren't even due and they have a 5-game buffer. Look, it's win the games you're supposed to win, and eventually the Rays will have a slump. They just will be able to cushion it a little bit. So they're really tremendous. Now, the Rangers were idle today. They are currently tied with the Angels in first place. And Bruce Bochy so far has been doing a tremendous job. Starting in segment 2, we're bringing in Brice Paterik from Locked On Rangers to talk about the team because, I know some people had some high expectations. I was very cynical about the chances of the Texas Rangers this year. But hey, so far, they're winning the games they're supposed to win. And that's going to be our discussion. Segment 2, Brice Paterik is joining us to talk a little bit about the Rangers and how much of this is just playing a soft schedule and how much of this has to do with the fact that maybe they really are contenders. Hey, has this ever happened to you? You get an offer that says, try it for free for 30 days. You try it, said, hey, that was pretty cool. Then you forgot about it. And guess what? It's no longer free after the 30 days. You have yourself a subscription that you forgot about. Whoops. 80% of the people out there have done exactly that. I think I might be one of them. You could be wasting money. Who could do that these days? What you need to do is use RocketMoney. They help you find those forgotten subscriptions so you can stop paying for the ones that you don't use. It's a personal finance app that helps find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills all in one place. RocketMoney will quickly and easily find those subscriptions for you. And if you don't want to pay for it anymore, just hit cancel. Huh? RocketMoney will take care of it for you. It helps you manage your finances and automatically categorize your expenses. You can keep track of your budget all in one place, all in real time. Over 3 million people have used RocketMoney, saving the average person up to $720 a year. So stop throwing away your money, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. One more time, rocketmoney.com/lockedonmlb. Look at this is the best time of the year to be a sports fan in so many ways. You have the baseball season coming around. You have the NHL Stanley Cup Finals are coming. You have the NBA Finals. There's lots of great entertainment out there. There's a lot of excitement and tension on the field, but there should be no excitement or tension in how to get your tickets. Why? Because you should be using Game time! It's game time for game time. Look at Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you with killer deals on last minute tickets. And you can get their best price guarantee. Stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun that you're going to have. Guess what? It's the place for last minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up until the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, hockey, baseball, concerts, comedy, you name it. The Game Time guarantee means you always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you for 110% of the difference. Now, snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code name Locked On MLB. Use code Locked On MLB, and that could be your code name as well for $20 off your first purchase. Almost got through that ad read. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Locked On MLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Well, we have ourselves. Let's get rid of that banner, shall we? Bye. We have our guest today, who is the host of the podcast, whose fan base hates your pal Sully more than any fan base in baseball, with a possible exception of the Angels fan base. But guess what? He is the host of the podcast that follows your first place Texas Rangers. Ladies and gentlemen, my nemesis, Brice Paterik. How you doing, enemy?
I'm doing fantastic, and
You're not my enemy. You're
no, absolutely not. And Rangers fans have forgiven you for your pinch potting appearance coming off.
Not all of them. Not all of them. Not all of them.
The nice ones have. And that first place Texas Ranger team. I've been doing this podcast since 2019. I think honestly that's the first time this team has ever been first place Texas Rangers in the history of the Locked On Rangers podcast. So I am milking it for all it's worth, because I don't know if it'll hold up after this weekend in Houston.
Full disclosure, we're recording this part of the podcast before we know what happened in the Pirates St. Louis game and the San Diego Milwaukee game. If the Pirates held on to that lead and the Padres won, that means right now we would have the tied for first place Pirates, tied for first place Angels, tied for first place Rangers, tied for first place Arizona Diamondbacks. There you go, Miller Thomas of Locked On Diamondbacks. I honestly don't see any change at the tops of the standings by the end of the year. And should we start be looking at how they'll match up with some of these teams come playoff time?
Well, maybe. And hopefully by the time everything turns around, Corey Seager will be back off the IL. Just some really devastating news in this series against the Royals, and a fascinating, incredibly fun game on Tuesday night. Jacob deGrom on the hill, and Rangers absolutely dominating most of this series. Actually, it might have been on Monday that Seager got hurt. Maybe it was Tuesday. I can't remember. So much has happened this week. It's been kind of overwhelming.
It's been a wild week for Ranger fans. Well,
It
that was
really
the game.
has.
I actually talked about that game on the show because that was the game, if I'm remembering correctly, that the Rangers won on a walk-off home run. But
Heim time 3-run home run. His third career walk-off home run.
But with one out in the 10th or the 11th, whichever extra inning it was,
10th.
The 10th, there was the tying run was on third, and I made a note of Bobby Witt Jr. of the Royals made a phenomenal running back to the plate catch where it was kind of like, it was a Three Stooges episode there, but he managed to hold on to it.
I thought that was it. I thought that was going to end the game. Honestly, that was so impressive by Bobby Witt Jr.
Well, it would have tied the game had it dropped in, and he turned around and he not only caught it and was kind of off balance, but then turned around and threw it home so Simeon couldn't score. And I made a note to highlight that because the next batter got it. I think it was Garcia.
Garcia singled up the middle, and then I don't want to overlook. It's really easy to overlook an ending like that. But Josh Young, the rookie Red Raider, Rackham Tech, the very next plate appearance after Adolis Garcia singled home the tying run, Josh Young had a fantastic at bat, a 9-pitch walk that brought up Jonah Heim, who ended up hitting the 3-run walk-off home run. But that was really good at bats by everybody. Lowe's pop-up was into Nowheresville. Even Josh Smith, he had the hardest hit ball of that inning, 109 miles an hour off the bat. It just happened to go to Jackie Bradley Jr., who plays a pretty good outfield defense.
Yeah, I remember. But like, look at if you told me that right now they would have an injury to Seager, Eovaldi's ERA would start with a 6. deGrom has a bad first game.
I wouldn't
And
say I would say more unlucky than
unlucky.
bad.
Okay, do you know what? You're right. That's right because there were some, especially those hits down the line. Yeah.
The triple that was like 69 miles an hour off the bat from Trey
Okay.
Turner.
Yes. Okay. Yes, because I seem to always get your fan base angry if I don't say that deGrom is it deGrom, Walter Johnson, or Randy Johnson. Who's the greatest pitcher of all time? And you're not getting much out of some of your hitters. Grossman's not playing well. Duran's not playing well. If I told you all that, and you say, "Oh God, they must have stumbled out of the gate," and the answer is no. They've won. They started the season winning, 7 of their first 12 games. The Angels and the Rangers have taken advantage of a sluggish start from the Astros, who we'll talk about in segment 3. The Rangers are going to be playing on Friday, so this is going to be the big first test. But I you have to give credit where credit is due, and you winning these games. It's important, and I made the same point about the Brewers. It's important for the Rangers to get out of the gate looking pretty good.
Yeah, it really is. And
yeah,
thankfully they have a really, not that there's ever a good time for, your all-star shortstop to be injured, the guy who is, the foundation of your lineup. But if the Rangers are going to do it, and I've said all along, the Rangers need to get off to a hot start. And thankfully they have the schedule to do it. Starting off with a sweep of the Phillies was great. Then they lose 2 out of 3 to the Orioles, lose 2 out of 3 to the Cubs. You think, okay, well, they take 2 out of 3 with the Royals. But outside of this weekend series in Houston, the Rangers have a pretty easy schedule for the next 2 weeks. They go on the road to Kansas City. They play the A's for 3 games at home. Then they play the Reds on the road for 3 games. They do finish off the month with 4 games against the Yankees, which is not going to be easy. But still, for the most part, you got, what is that, 12 games against the Royals, A's, and Reds. You can take advantage of that, and the Rangers need to.
Yeah, and of course, that's always a dangerous game to play in baseball because there's always will be a situation where a bad team has a good couple of days. But also remember, the Yankees are a good team, but they're a team that has holes in it. And we're seeing that their starting pitching staff isn't as deep as they would hope it would be, and there are some holes to poke in that. And give Texas some credit. Let's talk. I want to talk about some of the positive things, and in almost all the things I want to talk about the positives thing because it has to do with the pitching staff. Because yes, Seager's got off to a nice start and he's hurt, and yes, you've got Garcia's got some big hits and Hahn's got some big hits, of course. But this team is going to live or die by its pitching staff. Take away the unlucky hits off of deGrom in game 1. He's pitched really well the last couple of games. And you look at I know I'm saying this especially for the people who think I hate deGrom or something. He has struck out 27 in 16 2/3 innings. He has 2 walks, a 27-2 walk to strikeout ratio. That's pretty good. He's let up 8 earned runs. Most of them were in that first game. And he's pitched very well. John Gray has pitched well. Perez has pitched well. The thing that made me not want to believe in, or not, it's not one. You don't want to believe in something. You either believe in something or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't believe in the Rangers because I didn't have faith in the depth of their pitching staff or the durability of the pitching staff. And taxes aren't due yet, so it's still pretty early.
Try to get your taxes in, though.
But that being said, they are getting the pitching that they need. And Will Smith and what's his name, Dunning have been pitching well out of the bullpen. I think so far, basically, you can't ask for much more from the pitching staff than they've given them so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the things that was why I was pushing back on you so much, because you talked about the depth of this pitching staff. And well, you know, almost all five of these guys, these starting pitchers that are the top five options the Rangers had coming into camp, most of them had a lot of injury question marks. I mean, deGrom has missed a lot of time the last couple of years. Nate Eovaldi has missed a lot of time over his entire career. Same with Andrew Heaney. Even John Gray has not been the picture of durability. And so far, granted, it is what, 10, 12, 11 games into the season. They are healthy. And I was more bullish on the back end behind them. Dane Dunning was one of those guys who's probably going to be the number 7 starter in this rotation. Glenn Otto was kind of going to be like the number 8 starter. He's out for a few months. And Jake Odorizzi, who the Rangers traded for, who everyone forgot about, as they should forget about, because he's going to be out for the year. He was the number 6 starter who you could plug in when felt like when one of these guys is hurt. Now that's going to be Dane Dunning at this point.
Did he even pitch? Did he even pitch a game for them?
He didn't pitch at all. He didn't pitch in spring training. Had a shoulder injury. He had forearm tightness early on in spring training. Took him a little while to get going, and then had a shoulder injury, and he is out for the year. So all the Rangers gave up for him was Colby Allard. So I'm not too bent out of shape about that. More just bummed about the lack of depth behind him. Don't really know what the deal with Glenn Otto is. He's probably going to be out for a couple months, but who knows? And Cole Reagans has been fantastic out of the pen, gained a few miles an hour on his velocity. And if Dane Dunning doesn't work out as a starter, multiple of these starters get hurt, I think Reagans might be plugged into this rotation. I think he would have won a job out of camp if it wasn't all 5 of these guys that were healthy. That's how good Cole Reagans was in spring training.
And of course, they have Ian Kennedy, who is so old that he can actually show off the fact that he has a World Series ring as a player for the Yankees. That's how old he is. That's a while ago.
That's old, man.
By the way, he didn't play in the postseason because he was hurt, but he was part of the team. So I think everyone on the major league team gets a ring. I don't know. I've never won one, but yeah. So look I'm not going to say that it's things could still, the wheels could come off, or things could work out well. I mean, when the Red Sox won in 2013, can't believe that was 10 years ago. There were a lot of pitchers. I thought they were going to be awful that year. And one of the reasons I said was, I had lived through, the beer and fried chicken and the horrible Bobby Valentine year. And I said, what pitchers are going to win? I mean, Lester's sliding. Buchholz is always hurt. Lackey's always hurt. Who are we relying on? And as it turned out, I was wrong. Those pitchers stayed healthy and remained, quality, gave them all quality starts. If they can get deGrom, Martin Perez, and John Gray, pitching well, then do you know what? It's maybe I'm wrong. And that's the entire season hinges on that what if.
It really does. And I think the biggest show of this team kind of turning everything around actually came from Andrew Heaney, who is the number 5 starter, signed a 1 year deal, 2 years. It's got a whole bunch of contingencies. Basically, the point is, if he pitches well this year, he can opt out if he wants to. If not, it's 2 years, $25 million. But he came in, he threw 9 consecutive strikeouts on Monday against these Royals, broke the Rangers record for most consecutive strikeouts in the game. Ended the game with 5 strikeouts, no earned runs 10 strikeouts, no earned runs in 5 innings. And then here you go. The next day, you hand the ball off to your ace. Here goes your number 5 starter throwing 5 innings of no earned runs and 10 strikeouts, and then Jacob deGrom's on the hill next day. Like that is just infinitely different from where this team was last year with their starting pitchers.
And they got a manager who knows how to handle it. In Bochy we trust. I can never praise Bochy enough. He was my dad's favorite manager, and what he did with San Diego, what he did with San Francisco, you can't deny that he's terrific at his game. And you also have to praise the GM for going for it, because it's hard to be a GM.
It is hard.
You think it's easy, but it's hard. And I've been playing all sorts of GM games my whole life. I could Stratomatic, Pursue the Pennant, Digital Diamond, play with my baseball cards, Hardball, all these things that I've done, but nothing compares to Ultimate Pro Baseball GM. Now I have my team, which is it's my fantasy team. They're called the Honolulu Waves. We're not doing well. We're not doing well. We're struggling, okay? Heads may have to roll. I may have to do some shakeup, but that's part of the deal here. You have to hire the right coaches and staff. You have to manage the team finances. You have to scout and draft players. Navigating your franchise through free agency, the ups and downs of a season. There have been more downs than ups for my team. And it's challenging. Realistic game world. Ultimate Baseball GM is completely free, playable offline. Play as you go. Play as you want. Play during a Zoom meeting. I don't care. So what you do is Locked On MLB listeners. I'm going to make the same deal for Locked On Rangers listeners.
How
Get
generous.
you what? I pass it on to you. 100% free boost to the franchise when using promo code Locked On at the game store. Make sure to check it out. Download the game. Just visit probaseballgm.com. Scan the code or look it up on the app stores. That's probaseballgm.com. Ultimate Baseball GM. Start your dynasty today. And go Honolulu Waves. Catch the wave. We have to do marketing.
You know, the
Not
GM,
drawn,
you're
we're not
everything.
drawn well. We're not drawn well either. I mean,
you got to work on those cheap flights to Hawaii, or I don't know if you've ever watched the show BoJack Horseman. They build a transatlantic highway from California all the way to Hawaii. So maybe that's what you need to get out to the games. Road trip.
All right. Well, we're here with Brice Paterik of Locked On Rangers. It's by the way, it's looking good for the Pirates. They're up 4-0. It could be holding on to first place. Well, how great would it be to have a Pirates Rangers World Series, huh?
In my MLB The Show 2020, when I have my creative player who is literally hitting 100 home runs every single year, in the year 2030, the Rangers and Pirates do play in the World Series, and O'Neill Cruz is the fully actualized version of himself. And I mean, those Pirates gave my Rangers with Fernando Tatis Jr. and Walker Buehler and a few other guys that ended up signing with the Rangers that probably won't in real life. They gave them a run for their money, but the Rangers won their 10th straight World Series. So
what year was that?
2030.
All right, so go to FanDuel, put down your money. FanDuel is not a sponsor of this particular one. And by the way, we're here with Brice Paterik in an upcoming show. I believe the next show we're doing for Locked On MLB, I'm going to be doing the show which I record all throughout the weekend, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night, where I recap the weekend's game. And I also talk about how I don't know what's going to happen. And so you hear some of my predictions, and some of my predictions are astonishingly wrong, but I own up to it. Kind of like how some of my predictions may be wrong with the Texas Rangers, but maybe not. I don't know. Neither do you. We have a previewing that weekend that I'm going to be talking about. We got a lot of interesting games. You have the Twins and the Yankees. The Twins are in first place and absolutely gobsmacked the Yankees, which doesn't happen that often. The Rays are going to try to continue their perfect start and break the Milwaukee Brewers run, and they're going north of the border. Barrios versus Rasmussen.
That'll be fun.
That's going to be fun.
I can tell you why. The only reason why the Twins are in first place. That's all because of my large adult son, Joseph Nicholas Gallo.
Well,
good things happen to any
good
team.
Thing happens with them.
Yep.
By the way, you have Trout and company for the Angels. The first place Angels are heading to the Red Sox, who are still licking their wounds from getting swept by the Rays. You have the Braves and the Royals in the recent World Series champion, I guess, matchup there. The Pirates are trying to hold on to first place, and they're playing the Cardinals. The Mets and the A's are doing a reunion of the 1973 World Series, 50th anniversary of that wild, weird World Series, which was the last appearance on the field of Willie Mays, by the way, for those of you keeping score at home. But no doubt Besides, I think the Rays are the most interesting game because of their winning streak. But the
Yeah.
Rangers Astros series starts on Friday. Perez versus Garcia. Who Garcia has been the least effective of the Astros pitchers up until this point.
Oh, don't say
Uh,
that. Don't say it. He's gonna hurl a gem now. I know it.
yeah, so go to FanDuel and bet on him throwing a perfect game. This is a real test for the Rangers to see how much of this start is an actual good start, or how much of this is, is just a nice couple of weeks at the start of the season. This is going to be one of the first checkpoints.
Yeah, it really is. And it's the first AL West game they play this year. And of course, it's on the road against Houston. But I think the pitching matchups for the whole weekend are kind of indicative of how this series has changed. The Rangers have been absolutely terrible against the Astros the last, 5 years, more than that, 6 years since there's only been 2 competitive years. The Astros came into the division in 2013. And for the first couple of years, the Astros were terrible. And they got slightly good, and the Rangers ended up winning 2 AL West titles in 2015, 2016. And the Rangers fell off a cliff, and the Astros got really good and have been good since, and the Rangers have stayed bad since then. So for all this hope of, the Silver Boot series and, there's a bunch of animosity. Well, there was in 2015 and 16. That was really fun that the Rangers won those 2 AL West titles, but there hasn't been a whole lot since then. But I mean, on Saturday, you have John Gray versus Hunter Brown. And on Sunday, you have Andrew Heaney versus Framber Valdez, which is probably about as lopsided as a starting pitching matchup as you can get between these two teams. But still, Andrew Heaney's coming off that really great outing last week. Granted, it was against the Royals, but still, it was fantastic.
The wins. Hey, don't make these caveats. Because a lot of times you'll see.
I'm used to a losing team, all right, man. I'm used to having to make caveats.
A lot of times, a loss here and a loss there to a bad team. You have to. This is what the some people trying to poo-poo what the Rays are doing. They're playing a bunch of bad teams. Well, they're supposed to win these games. They're
not
doing
supposed
what
to
you're
win all of
supposed to
them.
do. Well, that's what they're doing.
Exactly.
And so, the Rangers, they've had a soft schedule so far. Great. Then win those games. They have. So now this is test number 1. Now, full disclosure, I picked the Astros to win the World Series. I don't think I'm the only one to do that.
Wow, you can't say that. That's just rude.
I may have just cursed them. Who knows?
I hope so.
But
you did that, then much applause to you.
But this is that first real challenge because obviously the Rangers got off to a good start, and the Astros have got off to a clunky start. If the Astros win this series, they will be 8-8, and the Rangers would be 8-7. So,
7,
if that's,
I think 7-7.
But I'm saying if the Astros took 2 out of 3,
the series, okay,
win the series, they take 2 out of 3, then only half a game will separate the two. So these games count just as much. And if you know who the main competition that you're going to be chasing, you want to make sure every time you play them, whether it's in April or in September, that's essentially like 2 wins in that's chopping 2 numbers off of the magic number.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And yes, we're already taking a look at the magic number.
I mean, when your team, I think people don't realize how bad the Rangers have been. I mean, I started my fandom in earnest, like my true obsession. Like I grew up a Rangers fan, but it was really casual. I just kind of happened to choose 2010 that year to stick on. It happened to be a really good year to watch every single game, and kind of forgot for the first 7 years of my fandom. Oh, it's not always like this. I mean, the Rangers hadn't been. I mean, they won on opening day, and they had not been above 500 since August of 2020 at all, at any point. Not even an opening day win, not a 2-1, nothing. They had been at 500 at the end of the month of May last year. They had a really good month of May. Then they lose on June 1st to those undefeated Rays. They weren't undefeated at that point. And then they never got close to 500 again for the rest of last year. I'm enjoying every single bit of this being over 500, being in first place, because it has been so long. People have forgotten about the Rangers, and honestly, they've been pretty much right to.
All right. Well, guess what, folks? The magic number for the Rangers to clinch the AL West is 149. So start chipping away at that. Start chipping away at
I'm going to start tweeting that out now. As long as they're in first place, you know what?
Why not? Why not? Why not? By the way, I just want to say, remember, we are going to be doing the show where we're going to be reviewing the weekend games that's going to drop on Sunday night. So we've been doing actually a couple of.
Are you going to get Sunday night baseball? The Rangers getting two Sunday night baseball games in the first 3 weeks is just blowing my mind, Sully. It's been so long since people cared about my team.
It's been something here. That's right. And by the way, for those who keep keeping score at home, this is going to be yet another 6-episode week. So we're passing the savings on to you with our Locked On MLB. Hey, Brice Paterik, tell people where they can listen to your terrific show.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Brice Paterik and find the show at Locked On Rangers, and you can find Locked On Rangers on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We're coming up on, I think, 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I think we're like 50 away. So help us hit that number. Appreciate it.
And we're at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And we're trying to reach 1 billion subscribers. We're several hundred million shy of that right now. But our goal is 1 billion subscribers. So please spread the word. And as always, I want to thank everyone who is our everyday listeners. I had a thing where I was saying put a hashtag everyday MLB so I could see which one of you are listening every single day. But it turns out there already was a hashtag called everyday MLB. So I'm going to personalize this. Everyday Sully. If you are here listening to this show every single day, hashtag Everyday Sully so I can see you, and I'll give you some shout outs next week. And if you have any questions or anything you want me to cover, shoot me tweets, shoot me texts, send me a message on a paper airplane. I'll do it all. Talking about the first place Rangers and trying to chip away at that 149, which is their magic number. I'm Paul Francis Sullivan. He's Brice Paterik. This has been a Locked On MLB, Locked On Rangers crossover, and please call me Sully.